Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm your host, Dawn Mullarney, also known as Unique Connector. So I'm so excited to have Andrea on the call today, or the podcast, because her and I took the leap in November of last year. And so many people see us as being very brave and courageous to take that leap, and are sometimes coming to us because they think we're kind of the answer that they need because they're stuck and they want to leave their work behind. And so, Andrea, what would you say to somebody right now that is feeling stuck at work?
Yes, I love talking about this because this was me. This was me for many years before I left. And just to give a little bit of the background first, there was a period of time after my second kid was born where I came to work and I had thought the new job was the thing. I had thought the new baby was the thing. I thought all these new skills were the thing that were going to make work feel good. And I went back to work and none of it felt good. I felt back in the stuck place that I was before I had my second baby. And so finally, I said, do I want to do this for another 30 years? And so part of me, I looked ahead at do I want to continue coming to a corporate job in a place, trading my time for money on projects that are uninspiring for me until I retire and hopefully have enough health to continue to live my life? Or do I want to step into the unknown and I don't know what, but do something that makes me happy? And at that point, finally, I got to that point where the unknown was less scary than the known. And I feel like that's a good tipping point for a lot of people. A lot of people, they know that it's scary to step out into the unknown, but there's a comfort in the known, even if it's painful. And so I just
Yeah.
share that because I want people to know that I've been there, I've experienced that, and I just made a choice. That's all we need to do is make a choice. And so I made a choice to figure out what I'm here to do. I, at that point, really believed in the idea that we're all wired uniquely and we all have some sort of gift that our soul is here to give humanity. And I wanted to know what that was. And so I went on the journey to figure that out. At the time, that didn't mean leaving my job. I didn't know what it meant. I truly had no idea what it was I was here to do. I just knew it wasn't what I was doing, which was project management at an insurance company. And so that stuff didn't feel good. For me, it did end up being a bit of a 180. I am here to help people know who they are at the deepest level, to accept themselves, to confidently step out as that version of them. And also, I'm a spiritual coach as well. And so I'm here to help people know how to work and live as a spiritual being having a human experience, because there's a lot of different rules that go with that. And so for me, leaving the job did make sense. And I do feel like for a lot of people who feel stuck, maybe that is the place where they get to, is leaving the job is the right thing to do because it's so different. What you're wired to do is so different from where you are. But that doesn't have to be the case. I've worked with clients who they just needed some inner tweaks to really make the job feel a little bit better, or maybe just shift roles in the same company. And it was really more looking within. The answers are always within. And so that is one thing I tell my clients, is they are the only ones that can find their own answers. The answers are within. And some of the things that get in the way of us truly enjoying what we're doing, things like our perfectionist tendencies, our tendencies to try to control ourselves or other people or the situation, or just putting such high expectations on ourselves. I worked with that one thing alone with one client. She realized she was putting such high expectations on herself that work just was so prickly all the time. We shifted that in one session in the exact same job. She said, I don't feel as prickly anymore. Like there's a softening to me showing up at work. And so it could be many different things, and there is no one right formula for anybody, except the answers are with it. And that's the only thing I will ever tell anybody.
Mhm.
But it's not the same. It's not, you need to stay, you need to go. Everyone has a different reason and something that will align to them differently.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like, you and I connected and we found similarities, but too, I think it's a reminder all of our journeys look differently. And that's where I even think of like, okay, you left in November, I left in November. And even as you were saying your story, I reflect back too of like, I left the bank in November 2 years ago or whatever now, 3 years ago, maybe. But, it was that time I needed to try a new job, to get a new perspective, to lean in to myself and realize Am I perfectionist? Is it things that I like doing? What do I hate doing? And sometimes I think that's where some people need to just shift that of where they're at, and they don't have to take such a drastic leap, but me, I just needed an outside perspective after 10 years of where I was at for a job. And that's what gave me the push to even leave to the unknown world also too, like you, where I didn't really know, but I was brave enough, but also courageous to do it. But I had to do those baby steps. And so what are some even baby steps that the listeners could do that are trying to understand or just feel like they're in the funk right now?
Hmm. Some baby steps. So what I hear from people too is I don't know what I want. And so I
Mm.
don't even know where to go because I don't even know what I want. And what I say and what I coach through in that situation is we have two forces at play in our lives that we haven't exactly deciphered and learned to decipher. We have our head and we have our heart. So our brain and our heart, or for me, our heart is where our soul speaks to us and is trying to guide us forward. And so not knowing what you want is really typically coming from your head because you're trying to pick apart all those voices of your past that have told you who you are, who you aren't, what's possible for you, what's possible in society, what's the safe thing, what's the stable thing. And so just knowing that there's a difference between the voices in your head and the pull from your heart, just quieting down and putting your attention on your heart space is what I love to do. Just quiet down, put my attention on my heart space and ask a question and see what comes in. See if I'm being guided somewhere, if I'm being led to talk to a certain person, or who am I? Just start to have a conversation there and start to understand that our heart is the part of us that's going to try to pull us forward, because sorry, it's freezing a little bit. Trying to see
Was
if
it?
you're going to come back. Okay, I'm just going to keep talking. So our heart is the part of us that is pulling us forward, and that knows where our juiciest life is going to be. That's where our highest potential lives, and it's trying to get us there. Our head loves to keep us in the past, thinks it's keeping us safe, hates change. And so just understanding that those two factors are at play can go really far into, okay, let's try to quiet the mind and let's try to go to our heart and just start there. Just start to listen and see what sounds exciting, what will light you up from the inside, because that's how your soul speaks to you. What feels expansive, what feels passionate, what am I curious about? And just start to just on a small level just start to listen and start to trust those things.
Yeah. Well, I would say as you're saying this, I kind of giggle where I'm like, huh, my coach, I did a leadership course and she was asking a lot of different questions. And of course, my brain, my worker brain was just like, oh, some of this stuff is too, focused on me and it's not about work and efficiencies and strategies and how are we going to get this done? And then when it finally clicked of just how I was feeling, but also too, like what meant a lot to me, because she focused a lot of like values and our why and that deeper stuff where it was on my heart. But also too, I realized my brain was just so wired about work, 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 work. And this is how we're going to do it. And so that's probably where sometimes I feel like some other people that come to us, I feel at times, because they are so worker mindset and brain, and that's all they focused on. And they haven't always focused on the inner work of themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
do you, I feel like too with you, you've had different nudges that have helped push you, or maybe some things that other people should look for when those little nudges or the little, reminders are showing up for them. What are some things that you kind of have that you've been mindful of, or you've even noticed through your transformation journey?
Mm-hmm. For me, I like to decipher the way I'm feeling, but I do it differently than I feel like what we've been taught. And so some of the nudges for me have come in the form of like jealousy, for example, or just noticing where I'm attracted to the lifestyle of other people. So some can call that jealousy. It could be, oh, I'm jealous that they work for themselves, or I'm jealous that they and their family can travel, or I'm jealous of all the freedom that they have. we've been taught that jealousy is a bad thing. You're not supposed to covet
Mhm.
thy neighbor's stuff. But for me, I say, no, that's actually spirit trying to, because spirit talks to us through our body, through nudges and energy and little things. And for me, that was spirit trying to show me that's possible for me. Not that I need to be jealous of those things, but I can have those things too. And that's where I talk about the energy from our heart trying to lead us to a different place, because it's like our brain could never have gotten me to the point where I felt like I could lead retreats and be on stage, because that's just not in my sphere of what's possible. But my heart keeps showing me people doing those things and me getting really excited about it, which for me is a glimpse that that's possible for me too. So maybe an easy way for people who are new to this is for them to just start to pay attention to, what am I attracted to other people for? What do I call jealousy. I don't think it's really jealousy. I think it's really a glimpse of, this is something you can have if you choose to have it. I believe that we're never given a glimpse of something that's not possible for us. We just have to choose to align ourselves to the thoughts and the actions to actually get to that point. And so just pay attention to the nudges and what are you noticing in other people, and maybe some of the things that you're attracted to that they seem to be doing. There's a message for you in that. So pay attention to those.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I recently well, you and I met, and then we've just kind of kept in contact. And I recently whipped up a retreat 3 weeks and hosted it at my house because I just felt the energy that I needed to do it. And it was around joy, because I think, a lot of us are not always taking that time to realize what's stealing our joy, what's bringing us joy, what is jealousy. And I brought up too about the comparison and envy. And sometimes I feel that envy is stealing our joy from us. And that's kind of too where the jealousy also. And I was so thankful you came to that, because you just brought the energy that I was looking for, and I think that's the thing too, is sometimes we have to just take the leap and try the stuff that's at our heart. And what's the worst that can happen? It
Mm-hmm.
didn't go
Yeah.
successful, or it goes great. And I think that's the part too, where sometimes these little nudges are telling us, because life's too short and I would regret it. And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
feel like sometimes there's reasons too to bring different people to your life, or just have that different perspective. Because I think that's where sometimes the jealousy is brought up, and we're not always understanding the whole picture or the journey of what it took for some people to get to where they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I commend you for that too, because I think on this entrepreneurship journey, many of us think it has to be perfect right away, and it has to, like, I'm going to do the thing and it's going to be right on the first try. But we forget that we learn so much just by doing something, and whether it goes well or doesn't go well, in both of those cases we always learn something, so that way the next time can go better, and the next time can go better. I remember reading a book, and they were talking about being in a room. I think it was Marianne Williamson, and now she's like this powerhouse spiritual speaker. But they said early in her days she would just go to a room and she was just kind of blah, and she didn't really command the energy. But she started somewhere, and that's where we just have to start somewhere, and just be willing and have the courage to take the steps and see what happens. And I think both of us were of the same mindset, where you probably already have an idea for things you would do differently next time, and that's okay. That's the beauty of having done it, having gone through it. And now the next time you do that, it's going to be a step better, and then a step better, and at some point you're going to have powerhouse retreats if that's where you want to go. And so it's just a reminder that no one has it perfect. You can see Dawn and I, and it looks like people will tell me, I see you on LinkedIn, it looks like business is going great. It's like, yeah, well, there's more to business than what I show on LinkedIn too. And it's really just about having the courage to take the steps and be willing to learn from all of them, whether they go perfectly or not. And so I thought it was really beautiful that you did that. And it actually gave me the courage to book my own retreat for February. And so that was one of the things I needed out of it. So I am so grateful that you put that on and that I was able to be there.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you did. And I think that's the part too of being vulnerable. And I think, sometimes with social media or how our society is, and they have all these thoughts and of expectations for us. And I think that's where you just, hit the nail on, where we just need to take action sometimes, and we have to kind of ignore what other people are telling us, or their expectations, or their perceived, perceptions of how things are going for us in business. I think that's been the journey for me, of just learning and trying things and being present in it, but taking action, because I can sit here all day and just keep, giving myself all these ideas or thoughts in my head, or telling myself, and that's where it goes back to what you said earlier, is we have to go inside and we have to shift things, and we need to look in instead of looking exterior to everybody else.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. And from within, like this is why I love just the spiritual angle of things. It's because to me it's so empowering. And I say, from spirit's perspective, there is no right or wrong. There is no failure or success. Like everything just is. It's the human judgment that we place on everything, that we make things so hard on ourselves. And so from the spiritual perspective, like I know I'm here to experience growth, and the only way I can go through growth is to try things and to learn and quote unquote fail and get back up and do it differently. And so that gives me the angle. It's sort of like looking at things from a higher perspective. Like I know this is the journey, and just understanding that this is what the journey looks like makes it easier for me than just feeling like I'm this tiny human who has to like gut it out on myself and feel like, oh, if I do this thing, it's not going to work, or am I really, the spiritual perspective for me just gives me a bigger angle. And that's why I love it, is because I know, like in my heart, I know I'm here to succeed. I'm determined to succeed, partly because I already feel that I have. And it's because I know that spirit's got me. I know I'm doing my thing. And I know that even in my quote unquote failures, I'm going to be supported. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love that. And I think, as you reflect back, how sometimes we think, oh my gosh, this is such a failure. But we have to go through that in order to get new perspective, or to learn, or to have a better, clear road ahead. And so, if you reflect back on your, past, or just, your journey, where maybe you thought it was such a failure moment in that time, but then now as you reflect back, like, is there any pivotal kind of moment for you where you're like, that was not a failure, because wow, that just gave me so much more clarity for the future?
Hmm. Yeah, I have learned a lot in this past year since leaving my job in November. And leaving in November, I thought I was going to be an instant success, and the clients were just going to come, and it was going to be great, and it was going to be easy. And I left in November, and then I got 2 clients in December. And so it did start very well and easy for me. And then it slowed down quite a bit. And to the point where I'm looking around, it's been months since I've gotten new clients, and and like I've been starting to wonder, like, what is it that I need to do? And I had all the questions going on. And then it was when I heard a podcast with someone who I was new with, but this question was so transformational that now I'm working with her. And it was really the idea of, who do you need to become in order to attract those clients? And that made me realize, like, I've got a lot of wonderful knowledge in my head, and I know that I can coach someone to an amazing transformation, but I wasn't exactly showing up as the person that people might put faith and trust in. If you want to have a glow up in your life, if you want to have a transformation, I want to hire someone who's done that and been through that. And I wasn't exactly showing up as that person. I'd wear gray t-shirts and my mom leggings all the time, and showing up on social just kind of doing my thing, and not really paying attention to how I was showing up. And also I was hiding. I did a lot of hiding behind social media, and that helped me realize, if I want to help people step into themselves and own their confidence more, like I have to own my confidence more. How would I show up if I was the most powerful version of me? I would put myself out there. I would say yes to speaking opportunities. I wouldn't hide and wait for someone to come to me. And so it's been my own transformation. And they always say, like, that's really the journey, is your own transformation. And so if I would have had the clients early, I wouldn't have gone through this phase, which I feel like is a really powerful, important phase for me to step into myself at an even deeper level, own myself, own my energy, pay more attention to self-care, because we have to, when we're holding space for other people, we need to hold our energy in a way that then we can offer it to others. And so it's just really given me the time and the space to go deeper in myself and be able to hold more when they do come. I know it's inevitable. I know when the time is right, I will have the clients, I will have the opportunities, but I needed to continue to grow and shift myself to be able to hold that for when it actually came. And so I know that it might look like a failure if you're judging my business based on measurable results, outer results, and income and clients and all of that. But if you're looking at it from within, I've grown so much and learned so much. And I think that was really needed for me to get to this next level.
Mm. Well, I appreciate you being so open and being vulnerable with me because I feel like we've both been on that, but a different journey, but also similar, and I think
Mhm.
that's been for me too of you do go in a hiding phase. You're figuring things out. You're kind of flustered. You're talking, your head's talking to you, but also your heart's talking to you, proud of you, and you got to lean into it. And I think that's the part too of just this is a journey. We're growing in different ways, and we should take the moment to be proud. And that's where I feel that hopefully the listeners can just get that thought through their mind too of like proud of where you've come. No step's going to be easy. No action's going to be perfectly easy or it's going to be perfect, but it's just keep going back and keep trying or keep, looking elsewhere in different ways to, feed that energy of your brain, your heart, and, just keep looking within. And I just appreciate you and so thankful we met on this journey because we're very similar but different, and that's the part too that's the beauty of it, and I think that's the abundance mindset that everybody should have also. So,
Mhm.
I'm very proud of you, keep shining bright, and I'm thankful that you joined me on the podcast today, but any last words of wisdom that you wanna leave the listeners?
What I always leave people with is wherever you are is perfect for you. Sometimes we need to play in the pain a little bit longer before we have the courage to step out of it.
Mhm.
And, everyone's journey is different. And so wherever you are, just give yourself the grace and the acceptance that where you are is perfect. And you will know when the time comes for you to do something else. And so, on that, I do want to jump in and say, Dawn, to thank you. This has been so fun getting to know you and get to cheer you on your journey. Because when I think about it, like there's so many people who need a little bit of what we offer, and I know we have a little bit of overlap and a little bit of difference. And there's a lot of people out there, and I think the more that we can find our tribe and serve together, I just think the better everyone is going to be. And so I'm also grateful to you for putting this forum together and for just giving us the chance to meet. So thank you.
Mm. Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate you and keep shining bright and know I'm always here for you.
Thank you. You too, Dawn.